How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Tom Brady, the NFL's GOAT, just won his 7th Super Bowl. 43 years young, still dominating at that age. There will never be an NBA player that will dominate and win like this, play at a high level, the same way how Brady does it in the NFL right now. Brady and Michael Jordan in a class of their own as two of the best team sports athletes the world has ever seen. Their performances, greatness, talent, and hard work will never be topped. While the LeBron vs. Jordan comparisons will always be talked about, there's too far of a gap in the NFL. It's Tom Brady way ahead of everybody. With that said, let's take a look at which NBA player resembles Brady most.
From an accomplishment standpoint, Tom Brady and Michael Jordan, two GOATs of their sports, Jordan winning 6 titles, 6 finals MVPs, 5 regular season MVPs, but only played 15 seasons, retired in the middle of his prime, retired again after his second three-peat. If it wasn't for the retirements, I honestly believe MJ would have won 8 titles and a few more MVPs, but MJ didn't lead the Wizards to the playoffs at 39 and 40 years old. They were a 19-win team without him the year before. Basketball relies way more on individual. If the team just don't have any good players, realistically, it's impossible to win against the elite teams. While there's way more players in football, defense is just as important. It wasn't all Tom Brady the last 2 Super Bowls. His defense didn't give up any touchdowns. You can't say the same would have happened if it were another QB, since Tom's leadership, making all his guys around him better, second to none from a competition standpoint. The Michael Jordans, Kobe Bryants, and LeBron Jameses of the world stands out. All took care of their bodies at the highest level, but during Brady's prime years, one can argue Peyton Manning of the Colts was more talented. If there was a game for all the marbles, I prefer prime Brady over prime Manning any day, since Peyton lost a bunch of times, early postseason exits, but won 5 regular season MVP awards, all of which during Brady's prime. Manning already won 2 before Brady earned his first. Manning won 2 more before Brady won his second. During the 90s era, guys like Charles Barkley, Hakeem, Robinson, and Malone won an MVP. Other than Carl winning his second one after Jordan retired, MJ won 4 of his 5 MVPs during the decade. If Peyton Manning was the one to win all these Super Bowls instead of Brady, with 5 MVPs on top of that, no doubt he'd be considered the NFL's GOAT. Same with Jordan in the NBA. No matter which era MJ played in, no way he would have allowed an individual to win 5 MVPs during his dominant years. Individually, MJ's better in basketball than Brady in football, but Brady's NFL accomplishments with winning, just like Jordan winning with basketball, very similar. As for Kobe Bryant, who was drafted 13 overall out of high school, got off to a slow start, barely played his first 2 seasons because scouting very different from football. Anytime anybody's great in high school or college, they get drafted in the lottery, but football, way too many positions, thousands more trying to make the NFL. That's why a lot of talents gets missed. Kobe was always dominant, destroying teenagers at 8 years old, where Brady didn't fully commit to playing football till freshman year of high school. The only reason why Brady played as a sophomore, because the kid who played freshman QB stopped playing. Brady barely made the Patriots roster as a rookie, having 4 QBs. Kobe in his early NBA days played behind Eddie Jones at the shooting guard position for 2.5 seasons. Tom played only 1 game in year 1 after team quarterback Drew Bledsoe went down. The second game of Brady's second season, the rest was history. Went on to win Super Bowl 36, only year 2, incredible achievement, one of the biggest upsets in Super Bowl history. Won 3 Super Bowls early on, but didn't win for 10 years, while Kobe won 3 titles his first 6 seasons, a 7-year drought in between until victorious again, back-to-back, last ring at 31 years old. While LeBron's longevity, similar to Brady in the NFL, 10 NBA finals and counting, Brady 10 Super Bowls and counting. James, a better individual talent, makes all his teammates better, has been the best player for many years. From a comparison standpoint, many argue Aaron Rodgers and Peyton Manning had better seasons than Brady, but none of those guys won like Tom. James also played for 3 different teams, multiple free agent signings, didn't win more than 2 titles for any franchise. Brady, despite going to Tampa Bay, will forever be Mr. New England Patriot. While Magic Johnson and Larry Bird were the king of the 80s, similar to the Brady vs. Manning rivalry, Johnson has the 2-1 edge over Bird in the finals, Manning 3-2 against Brady in the playoffs, but neither Bird or Magic had longevity. Johnson forced to retire early due to HIV, Bird played with a broken back back at the latter stages of his career, too much wear and tear. Wilt Chamberlain didn't win as much as Brady. Bill Russell's leadership, very similar to Brady, two of the winningest players for their sport, the engine and captain of their teams. Russell had many Hall of Fame players, while Brady did play with guys viewed as average white receivers before Tom turned them into champions, stars, and Hall of Famers. The impact surreal. In my honest opinion, Tim Duncan of the San Antonio Spurs, the closest comparison to Mr. Brady of the NBA. Duncan, just like Brady, didn't commit full time in their sport until they started high school. Brady, much better baseball player, could have probably played in the MLB, while Timmy D had inspiring dreams of becoming a professional swimmer because his pool got torn down by a hurricane. Duncan focused on basketball because he was tall. Brady, just like Timmy D, played 4 years in college. Each of them earned their bachelor degrees. Duncan in psychology, Brady in general studies. Tim didn't get too much attention on the college recruits. University of Harvard, Delaware, and Providence offered Tim a scholarship, but Wake Forest's Dave Odom took him. Duncan wasn't like the Kobe's, KG's, and LeBrons of the world, transitioning from high school to the pros. In fact, was even scoreless his very first college game. Odom considered redshirting Duncan before a former teammate violated NCAA rules, while Brady had to practice hard every week, not knowing if he was going to start, had to beat out teammate Drew Henson, who was viewed as a better athlete, a bunch of times. Brady did everything possible to make it to the NFL, didn't want to end up as an insurance salesman. Looking at Thomas E. Brady Jr.'s resume, an emphasis in business and psychology, worked at Merrill Lynch. Maybe both Tom and Tim have more in common than we know, given their degrees, both very quiet and private. Brady was viewed as a boring guy years ago before social media. It was Peyton Manning doing all those commercials, while Duncan's rival KG super intense and talks a lot. Before Brady's social media presence, he wasn't all that entertaining outside of football. Besides being married to one of the world's most beautiful women, very private and keeps to himself. Starting off with their careers, Duncan, after an amazing 4-year collegiate career at Wake Forest, the consensus #1 pick, drafted by the Spurs, looked up to superstar veteran David Robinson. Both of them went at each other in practice. I wish there were more of those tapes, the two Twin Towers going at it. While Brady had Pro Bowler Drew Bledsoe. Duncan, Rookie of the Year, superstar first teamer off the bat, lost in the second round to the Jazz, but in year 2, he was absolutely the best player on San Antonio, 23 years old, arguably also the best in the NBA. While Brady would have likely excelled in year 1 if given the chance to start, waited and took every advantage possible. When Bledsoe went down, a new legend was born. Never looked back. Second season, Duncan Spurs tied with the best record, got the best of KG and the Wolves round 1, swept Shaq's Lakers in the semis, dominated the Blazers, and gave the smaller Knicks a taste of greatness by averaging 27 and 14 in the finals, a way slower pace era where 27 points a game, higher than the regular season scoring champ. Brady's clutch gene delivered in year 2, rallied from a 10-point fourth-quarter deficit his first playoff game, knocked off the heavily favored Rams in winning his first Super Bowl. His defense sensational, no interceptions. Tom was 24, becoming the youngest QB to win a Super Bowl. Duncan became the youngest power forward to win Finals MVP. While you can also make the case Brady had similarities to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar of the NBA, Kareem's longevity insane as well, who also won a title in year 2 but was unanimously the best player of the 70s, the most MVPs all time, 6 total. Brady had the greatest football accomplishments, but rival Peyton Manning won more MVPs. While Jabbar only won 1 title with the Bucks, traded to the Lakers, it wasn't until when LA got Magic did the franchise become a dynasty. One can say Jabbar the better all-time great over Magic, but Johnson was the leader of Showtime and made all his teammates better, just like Brady was the leader of his team. For most of the 80s, the Lakers were Magic's team, but Johnson didn't have a long career. Neither did Bird due to his back injuries. His hustle plays reminds you of a running back running through linemen, Duncan having Popovich, exactly like Brady having Belichick. Although Tim stayed with one franchise his entire career and retired at 40, one of the most durable players to age well, you can argue Pop and Bill, two of the best head coaches in the NBA and NFL all time. But remember, the Spurs and Patriots dynasties were built upon a superstar, unselfish winning leader in Duncan and Brady. As great as those head coaches were, they always think their system is right and every player must follow. Brady eventually got sick of it and signed with Tampa Bay, while the Patriots, not even close to being the same team without him, missed the playoffs. While the Spurs, after Duncan retired, yes, they were still great because of Kawhi Leonard, but even Leonard wasn't fond of Pop's system and demanded out. San Antonio clearly no longer the powerhouse without Timmy D. New England will never be the same without Brady. Great all-time coaches needs all-time great players to mesh into their system, accept sacrifices, and show up to win. That's where the two go hand in hand. Duncan would absolutely dominate in the 03 playoffs, knocked off the Lakers in one of the single greatest carry jobs by any players, back-to-back MVPs in 02 and 03, but during his time, one can argue Prime Shaq was better than Duncan, which he was in the early 2000s. Duncan also allowed KG, Steve Nash, and Dirk Nowitzki to win MVP in his prime, doesn't have the amount of MVPs like a Jordan or a LeBron, while Brady joins the list with Jim Brown, Johnny Unitas, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers with 3 MVPs, tied for second, while Manning in the league of his own in that category. Tim won his 3rd championship by 29, was already a top 10 player all time by then. Brady, 27, won his 3rd Super Bowl. Duncan's Spurs continued to win, captured title number 4 in 2007, age 31, in position to win every year, while Brady missed pretty much an entire season with injury. Some letdowns, other QBs like Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers got a taste of success. Garnett finally won his first title in 08 after Duncan already had 4, yet there were still many debates between KG versus Duncan. Talent-wise, it's really not that far apart, but accomplished minds, Duncan blows him away. Brady fell in the wild card round in 2009 to the Ravens, bounced by the Jets the year after, while Duncan's Spurs, a little quiet after 07, lost to Kobe's Lakers, bounced in the first round by Dallas, swept by Nash's Suns, upsetted by the Grizzlies in the first round of 2011. Brady went back to the Super Bowl in the 2011 season, lost by the skin of his teeth to Eli Manning, somebody he couldn't beat in the playoffs. Eli was a great player, but not to the levels of his brother Peyton or even a Ben Roethlisberger type. In the 2012 season, both players went down in similar fashion. Brady, the heavy favorite, eliminated by the eventual Super Bowl champion Ravens in the AFC Championship, while Duncan's Spurs were up 2-0 to the Young Thunder, lost 4 straight, couldn't keep up with their speed. By that point in time, many wonder would their dominance be coming to an end in their mid-30s, yet so close again in 2013. Duncan was still a first-teamer, led San Antonio to the finals, nearly won it if he was in the game for that rebound in the closing seconds of Game 6, an absolute travesty decision by Greg Popovich. San Antonio would have won. Duncan would have had 4 finals MVPs, while Brady fell to the Broncos. Even the best of the best overcame adversity and bounced back by responding stronger. The unselfish approach happened. Both superstars took massive pay cuts. In 2013, Brady signed 3 years from 2015 to 17, $27 million deal to provide flexibility, whereas Duncan cut his paycheck in half after 2012, allowing Manu and TP to remain, didn't care about his stats, just wanted to win and contend. In 2014, Duncan captured his 5th championship, 62 wins, allowed all his teammates to flourish, everybody got a piece of the pie, one of the most unselfish teams all time. It wouldn't have been possible without the leadership presence of the big fundamental for San Antonio to win all those titles. While Brady led a comeback over the Ravens, just like Duncan's Spurs were pushed by the Mavs to 7, Brady's pass defeated the Seahawks, a Seattle team similar to the mid-2000 Pistons with their defense. Tom won his 4th Super Bowl. Duncan's Spurs still contended his final 2 seasons. Despite losing in round 1 to the Clippers in 2015, the 39-year-old went toe-to-toe with prime Blake Griffin. 2016, he was officially done after averaging single digits for the first time. If Duncan was just a year younger in 2016, San Antonio would have won the title, given how stacked they were with new addition LaMarcus Aldridge. Nevertheless, because there is no real best position in basketball, Duncan is far and above every other power forward who's ever played, shoulders ahead of the likes of Karl Malone, KG, and Dirk. Duncan's not a better scorer than Dirk or Malone, not as athletic as Anthony Davis, not as quick as Kevin Garnett, but his leadership, combined with getting the job done, showing up in clutch moments time and time again, separates him from the pack, just like Brady, who doesn't have an arm like Favre or Rodgers. You can even say Peyton Manning had a better individual season at his peak over Brady. Brady's also arguably one of the least athletic all-time greats. Doesn't have the speed, athleticism, this and that, but Tim Duncan wasn't super athletic either, but still find ways to win. After 4 Super Bowls, Brady's dominance continues, overcame a 28-3 comeback over the Falcons.
I need to get you a bigger locker.
Roger that.
did it again 2 years later at 41 years old after losing to the Eagles in the Super Bowl the year between. When some thought after Brady's last season with the Pats he might retire, signed with a struggling franchise who finished under 500 the previous 3 seasons, to beating Breeze, Rodgers, and Mahomes consecutively, winning a Super Bowl. Unbelievable. Brady obviously the greater NFL player over Duncan as an NBA player, but because of their leadership qualities, the winning attitudes, not being the most gifted or athletic for their positions, but accomplishments head and shoulders above everybody else their position, Tim Duncan is the closest NBA comparison to Tom Brady of the NFL.
Thank you so much for watching this video. Which NBA player do you think is the best comparison for Tom Brady? I go with Tim Duncan, obviously. His demeanor, calmness, winning attitude, and ability to just get it done despite not being the most talented or athletic really resemble what Brady's all about. Let me know in the comments below. I talk NBA comparisons, amazing storylines, NBA history, anything NBA basketball you might be interested in. Hit the subscribe button. See you next time. I love all of you. Thanks again.